that's not a prosthetic.
What about the stunts then?
That was a real baby who is now up there in the corner in a pram. She's just woken up now because she's like, oh, my public, my audience. Yeah. And she's like, I've been resting for this moment to say hello. So, like, background of the film really was that I was pregnant and wanted to make a film, wanted to direct a film, and was getting a bit frustrated that it was taking a long time to get off the ground. And I made a film called Black Mountain Poets, which was shot over 5 days, and the director of that, Jamie Adams, was like, oh, that worked well, do you want to do another film? I was like, oh, I would, but I'm pregnant now, so my life's over and my career, bye. Bye. And I sort of went away thinking, oh, I've just turned that down, and actually I am a bit worried about work and stuff, so really I should have said yes and gone, yes, I really want to do this. And so I went away and I kind of thought up a pregnant character and kind of thought, well, if I was going to play a pregnant character, I wouldn't play her like the stereotypical fluffy, into pastel, thinking up baby names kind of mum. I would want to be completely the opposite of that, so someone who's like really pissed off and vengeful and angry. And so I came up with this revenge thriller idea, you know, for a pregnant woman. Pitched it to the company and they were like, we love it. And I was like, can you do it in the next 2 months? They were like, yeah, why not? And I was like, yeah, right. But then we started developing it, and within a month and a half, I was filming. So I was 7.5 months pregnant when we started, and I wrote the script really quickly. So it's like sometimes, you know, necessity is the mother of creation or something like that. So it's not. It is the rule. Yeah, they're making the Brexit laws, and they're also making a law that I have to be in all British independent films. I think there is a movement. That I would say that is true, because I mean, you know, the film industry is a small world, and especially the independent film industry is a small world, because you all have to help each other out, really. And really, I see it as like friends who've like, you know, I've done them a favour, they do me a favour. You know, most of the people in this film are friends, really, that I wrote the script with them in mind, thinking, you know, oh, I know this person would come in and knock it out of the park, and we've got such a short time to do it, they're not going to be able to go off and research the character for a year or something, they're going to have to come in and do it tomorrow. And, you know, I have this trust in all those actors that they were going to be able to do it, and they knocked it out of the park. So I think there is a bit of a movement, really, and it's kind of born of there being some restrictions financially on the British film industry. There aren't many places that will fund your film, and I think when you find like-minded people that want to work in the way that you want to work, you kind of, that's where you put your trust. You kind of go, okay, I'm not working for any money, but I am working because I'm building a relationship with these people, and hopefully all together we will get to a place where we are getting proper funding for the films, and we are getting properly paid and stuff like that. But you do that through building a trust with these people that you think are talented, and yeah, I think there is a bit of a sort of British independent film movement going on now. I think we probably did get all of the script. It's just that we got all the script and a little bit extra. I knew that all the actors had improvisational skills, so I would have been mad not to let them kind of loose on the characters a little bit. And yeah, and there's some structured chaos in it as well, where I kind of was like, I want to film on the streets of Cardiff on Halloween without really knowing what was going to happen. I knew it was going to be crazy, but I didn't know it was going to be that crazy. It was quite crazy. And so there was stuff like that where I kind of wanted to leave it open to those, you know, when you're filming low budget and you're filming with a digital camera, you might as well be leaving yourself open to those coincidences, because you're kind of like, that's all we have. It's like, to compete with like big budget films where every single second has been minutely, you know, designed by a computer graphics person usually. And what I'm trying to do is go, right, this hasn't been planned, this is spontaneous, you're not going to see this anywhere else, and look at the tension and the energy between the actors, because we only could get this in one take, and so we did. So you know, in a way, that's the advantage that you've got from low budget filmmaking, and that's what I'm trying to put on the screen anyway, is like, look, there's a documentary, like, vivid, dangerous kind of side to it. It's a really good question, and thank you, because I'm going to have that written on my gravestone now. It's a really nice review. But yeah, no, it's a really good question, because I sort of really love 70s filmmakers, and the way that I see them developing their creative voices, and their, you know, they were kind of inventing cinema, I think, like, or inventing what we know as modern cinema, and breaking all the rules and making sort of new ways of performing a story. And I love all of that stuff, and there is a sense that when you get a bigger budget, suddenly, you know, it's all clamped down, all the creativity slightly, and it is what I like about it. And I think that what I really want to do is, I don't want to kind of suddenly make a big leap to big budget, because I think a lot of first-time directors, you know, they have a success and then they're kind of offered Superman 3, and they take it, and then they're like, oh God, I've got loads of money for that, but I'm not that happy, you know. And really what I want to do is I really want to develop my creative voice. It was a massive learning curve for me, this. The biggest lesson that I learned was, like, trust my own voice, my own creative voice, and my own individual instinct of, like, I know this isn't the usual thing to do, but I feel like people are going to like it, or they're going to be interested in it, even if they've not seen it before or something. And I was really able to pursue that because it was so low budget and there was no one breathing down my neck saying you can't do this. So I kind of think maybe the trick is to have, like, incremental increases on your budget whilst learning, getting better, and maintaining creative control. So that would be the dream, really. But I'm sure at some point I'll just sell out completely. Having said that, you know.
We'll be ready for a new Jane Austen cycle.
Well, my producers always say that I'm not allowed to say, but I'm going to anyway. So it was 80 grand. It might have gone a little bit over that, but I mean, that seems like a lot of money if you're not in the film industry, but actually, you wouldn't even make a TV pilot on that. Some people's short films cost more than that, you know, like, so it was nothing, really. We made it for nothing. But my producers keep saying, you've got to pretend that it cost about £1 million, because it looks like it cost £1 million. And next time we'll get a bit more than £1 million, the next one. So it cost £1 million. It's a film called Crime Without Punishment. I always get it slightly wrong. It's a 1934 film. It's really interesting. When I was writing the film, and I was kind of very rapidly trying to do some research, I was getting interested in the Furies, who are the classical goddesses of revenge. And it was sort of interesting to me that that's a human, I wouldn't say emotion, but a human impulse that's been around for thousands of years. So I was kind of looking at all different depictions of the Furies and thinking maybe the baby is a Fury, you know. And I came across this clip, and I was just like, this is the most extraordinary bit of expressionist cinema that I've never seen before, and it's about the Furies. What I really liked about it was putting those goddesses in a modern, for that time, environment, and an urban environment as well, so it's like New York. And I don't know, just this imagery that was very iconic, and using symbolism, which is not so fashionable now. Like, if I put loads of symbolism in the films, suddenly people go, well, it's a bit like a film student film or something like that. It's not trendy to do that, but I love all of that stuff, and I was just going, wow, this is everything that I want to say in a really succinct way. I bet we won't be allowed to use it. But, you know, I sort of put it in the script that she's watching that film, that she's imitating the position that they do when she's, you know, feeling her power. And we got permission to use it. But what's interesting is it was the film had a different director. It was just they wanted a particular sequence to be directed by a different expressionist Czech director. So a bit like, say, in Vertigo when Salvador Dali did a sequence. So it's just his sequence within this longer film, and it is a bit of a gem, I think. I absolutely love it. And it was very inspiring, I think, to see this kind of, you know, imagery that feels more powerful than sometimes what we're allowed to put on screen now. Like, it's quite shocking, some of the imagery. Like, you're like, wow, they're naked and they're like doing this sort of stuff. And to me, that just felt really powerful. That even though it was, you know, nearly 100 years old or whatever, 90 years old.
So,
It's a good question, actually, because people sometimes say, would you have written the same film, knowing now what you know? And I think I was in the middle of the pregnancy, so I often say, like, I didn't need to do any research because it was happening to me, you know. It was like, you know, I did a bit of research about the Furies, but in terms of pregnancy, it was just like I was going to the midwives' appointments, I was, you know, investigating, doing NCT, I was reading the books, you know, all of that stuff. And I really, I mean, to me, I sort of feel like I put a lot of what I was scared about with pregnancy in terms of losing my identity and loss of control, put it into the film. And then I didn't feel bad about it anymore. I was like, oh, this is all right. You know, once I was hanging out with all my friends and colleagues on set and like having fun, like laughing, and I was sort of like, oh, pregnancy's fine. You know, you can just do whatever you want and it's fine. You're still you, and you haven't lost your identity. But then I think a lot of that was because I'd made the film. So now I'm like, wow, I'm glad I made that film. I might be going mad in my flat. Like, you know, if I wasn't doing this, now I would have been like in a, you know, dressing gown with really dirty hair, sort of rocking back and forth. Like, I don't know. I sort of think maybe I would be. Especially when, you know, you've built quite a lot of your own identity through your work. You know, I don't see my work as work. I absolutely love what I do. I'm like, yeah, I'm the luckiest person in the world. I get to pretend to be different characters and mess around. Shh, don't tell anyone. But, you know, I kind of felt like by making the film, none of the things that I was worried about came true. So, and then I've got a really nice baby. It's really awful because I've made this film about how evil she is. She's absolutely like one of the nicest babies you can meet. You know, of course I think that, but I would say that. But people are like, oh, she's so cute, and I'm like, no. I've made out like babies are horrible and that they're evil and everything, and that's an irony to me that I'm like, God, I thought it was going to be so much worse than it was, like just motherhood. And that's the story of the film, and now I'm like, oh, it's fine. But then I do think, I think it's fine because I've had a really, the film actually was very good sort of therapy for me. It's funny because we were just talking about this. I think like, I sometimes do talks at you know, film courses and stuff, and I'm like, you should always just make films like about your surroundings. Not only is it like low budget, you don't have to travel anywhere or transport crew anywhere. I think it's that thing of, you know, never underestimating how interesting an environment is or a character is, and never sort of denigrating a place and going, oh, it's not glamorous to be enough to be on screen. People don't know what the identity is of this place, so why tell a story about it? It's like, if you always invest a place or a person with enough interest, you point a camera at it, it becomes interesting. It just is interesting. And I would kind of say, like, make something about Coventry that's set in Coventry. You know, show people something that they haven't seen before. I mean, someone said to me about yesterday we showed the film in Cardiff, so I was obviously saying, you know, people might want to spot the locations that we filmed in, and this guy said to me, which I thought was really interesting, he said, I've never seen Cardiff shot this way, and I was born here. I've never seen it shown in this light. And I was like, well, I don't really know anything about Cardiff. I just knew what I wanted to get and shot it, you know. And he was like, I don't know. I just think you know you can create an identity of a place through your own eyes. You don't have to take on board what someone else thinks about it. We were talking about Get Carter. I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's a really interesting watch if you haven't seen it. But it's Michael Caine, and it's all a sort of gangster sort of narrative. I can't really remember the ins and outs of it, but the director had worked on the docks in the Merchant Navy, and he was just like, I got the script, someone had given me this script about this gangland thing, and I just thought I'm going to film it in the docks in Newcastle, just because. He's like, all their accents are completely wrong, but it puts it in this really weird territory that it's got such a special atmosphere to it as film. And I just think, you know, it's a lesson to be learned, really, in terms of like just putting what is around you on screen. So I'm developing another film with the same film company. It's going to be even weirder than this, because I'm all cocky now about it. So I'm going to go, yeah, how am I going to deal with this for size, you know? So it's going to be kind of, it's still dark, but kind of more fantastical and more surreal. So that's quite exciting. It's going to be very ambitious as well, lots of different, you know, visual things in it that are going to be quite cool.
Looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to draw it to a close here now. Prevenge will be screening as part of the programme in March. Please tell your friends, because, you know, this is worth seeing, it's worth supporting. And thank you all very much for coming. Thank you most of all, Alice Lowe.
Thank you.